You know what makes disc golf a lot more fun? Actually being accurate at disc golf and hitting your lines and hitting your targets and putting the disc in the basket a little bit more. In today's episode, we bring on Lucas Deal, who has really elevated his game over the last couple of seasons and even has a couple of wins in the advanced division in the local Wichita area so far this season. He teaches us how he has become such an accurate disc golfer and why he doesn't throw 400, 500, 600 feet, but he's still able to win disc golf tournaments and have a ton of success in disc golf because he is accurate. And in this episode, he gives us his top tips for how you too can be an accurate disc golfer and improve your disc golf game. If you're like Trenton and I, you want to become a better disc golfer and you want to become more accurate. And accuracy is such a hard and touchy thing to find. So this has been super helpful for us already, applying the tips that he has shared with us, and we know it will help you as well. And if you don't really care about being accurate and you're the most accurate disc golfer in the world already, make sure you stay tuned through the end of the episode for Lucas's hot take. And let me tell you what, folks, you might want to not have the tilt in your bag, get the passion out of there, the vortex, all these Tour Series discs. What's the point of any of the discs out there that are coming out that are new? We get into a heated debate about the marketability of discs and if everything that is being put out is really just a marketing ploy for you to buy a destroyer with a different name on it. If you enjoy this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to us from. We've got new podcasts every Monday and new YouTube videos every Wednesday. You're going to want to make sure you check those out. Last week, we did a lose a mold challenge between Trenton and myself. It was so much fun. Check it out over there. Leave a like rating if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a rating and review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thank you guys so much for tapping into this episode. Let's go ahead and let's get Lucas on the podcast right now.
Hi, my name is Lucas Deal. You're listening to the Chain Clankers podcast.
Alrighty, everyone, if you're from the Wichita area, you know this guy, Lucas Deal. He's been just out there killing it so far in 2022. He's got a couple of wins under his belt. Lucas, how are we doing tonight, man?
I'm awesome, man. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a real big honor.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. You know, me and Quentin are very excited to have you on. Me and you have just started getting to know each other a little bit better. We were talking a little bit more here and there, so super excited to have you on here and get your view on the world of disc golf.
And I want to start the show off with a little bit of an icebreaker. You know, we've been kind of asking for these episodes. Let's get some fan questions going, get a little bit more engagement going. And by golly, the Wichita local scene came out when we asked in the Facebook group for some questions for you. So I just want to start with this one before we really kind of get into your journey. This comes from Chase Anderson. What is your favorite course in Wichita and why?
Man, it's so tough because I love a lot of the courses here. I think my favorite course to play for nostalgia purposes is Oak Park, just because that's where I kind of started playing. But if I want to take that aside, because I think that's probably most people's answer is Oak, and for good reason. But like I actually really love Derby as a course, Stone Creek. I think it's just an awesome park with good lines that you have to hit. There's water, so it's just, there's, danger involved. And so I just love that course. Plus, it's not too far from my house, so that helps.
Are you playing in the Forefathers Fling?
I am. So Sunday, I will be there.
Oh, this is going to come out the day after the tournament. So let's make something happen. How do you think it's going to go for you?
There's some real good people in my division, in the advanced division. So I am hoping for a top 3 finish. I would like to win it, but I'm just looking for a podium spot and I'll be happy. I would love to, if I can shoot 6 down, I'm going to be, I feel that's going to be a good score. So that's kind of my goal in my head. And if I shoot better or close to it, then I'm going to be happy.
Right. I do have a quick question. How do you attack hole number 9, which for those of you who don't know, that is one of the longer holes it goes along the creek, and there's literally trees the entire way, and then the basket's up on a hill.
So it depends on the wind, honestly, what kind of wind's coming through. Now there's not a lot that can get through, but if it's a headwind, I do more of a turnover shot that's going to go to the left, to the right, to that little placement area. If it's any other wind, I'm actually playing kind of a backdoor hyzer, and trying to just push as far as I can. So I play it both ways depending on what the wind's doing.
Nice. Yeah, I'll be playing in that tournament as well in the intermediate division. So hopefully, we can put something together out there. And this is the one course that I've had my absolute worst round in tournament play. So hopefully I can kind of get over that hump right there. But it kind of leads me to the question of, when you first got into disc golf, did you ever think that you were going to be sitting here a couple years later being like, yeah, I'm trying to get a top 3? Like, how has your mentality changed maybe this year compared to years prior where maybe that wasn't always the case?
Honestly, it's so true, because I would say when I first started playing, I didn't really play a ton of tournaments. I was just kind of played it for fun here and there. I will say kind of in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I did start playing a little bit more tournaments, and I actually dipped my toes in the advanced field for the first time there. And I just got pooped on all day long. Like I got 63rd in a tournament. Like I just wasn't good, and it kind of ruined my confidence. And I actually digressed and went back to intermediate. So actually, this year was my first time back into advanced, and it's been awesome. I mean, I have played 3 tournaments. I got 9th, and then I have back-to-back wins, and it's really, really exciting. Because the first one was my first advanced win ever, because I wasn't even anywhere close when I played in 2020. So it's really exciting to like be thinking like, hey, I can shoot fairly well consistently, and that's a very fun thing to think about.
And what do you think from 2020 to now, taking that little bit of time off? Coming back to advanced, what do you think the biggest difference in your game was?
So I would think it's more confidence than anything. It's just like knowing that I can compete. When I first got into advance, I'm like, oh my God, these guys are hitting putts from everywhere. They're just doing so. It's like, oh my God, they're throwing so far. And what I did in advance when I first started is I'm like, oh, they're doing that, I can do that. And then I just I didn't ever play my game. I played to how they were playing. And then I realized that now I'm playing more towards my strengths, and I'm not trying to be someone else. I'm just being myself and knowing I'm the one that plays all the time, so I know what I can do well. So I put myself in position for myself to do well, and not trying to do crazy shots that other people bait me into doing.
I think that's really important that you kind of explained that there, because especially in a tournament scene, I feel as though, like, let's say you're 3rd on the box, 4th on the box, and you see the first 2 dudes or girls do something that you're like, let's say you have your Innova Wraith and they go up there with like a pig or something like that, and you're like, oh, am I making a mistake here? How long did it take you to figure that out, and how much trust did you have to put into your game to do that? Was that just built through field work, multiple rounds, multiple tournaments? How'd you build that up?
It was kind of a combination of things. I would say, number one, it was just I had to like be bad first. I had to try things that they were trying and then be bad at it before I realized that, hey, maybe I can't do those things. Like, if someone wants to do some Simon line and I'm like, oh yeah, I can go crazy hyzer over that tree and then not even get close to the height that it needs and go directly into the tree. So it was failing first, and then like just being confident enough in myself to know that, hey, to just know my game enough. And that's just a like repetition, practice rounds. Like I play all the time. I don't play leagues or anything. I just kind of doing my own thing, kind of behind the scenes. And I literally play mostly every day. And it's just little things that I'm working on. A lot of people get out there and they throw like 17 shots off the tee. I don't. I just get out there and I'm moving and I'm doing that shot. And if I screw it up, then I'm going to get there and either play another round or get there tomorrow and make up for it. Like, I don't give myself, like, if I mess it up, it's done. It's messed up. So that's kind of how I look at it anyway.
That's a great way to look at it, because I know it can be easy to throw a shot. Oh, man, I missed it. And then rethrow, and then in your head you take that battle, like especially on a casual round, you're like, you know what, I'll just play the better throw. When in reality, if you want to get better, Right. It's like in reality, if you want to get better, you need to take those lumps and you need to work from the spot where you hit the tree 25 feet off the tee. I mean, I do it every once in a while, and I'm like, oh man. But yeah, that's great. That's a great point.
I also think it just builds you up to be able to then make the bad shot best capability in the tournament. What I'm saying here is that let's say you hit a tree 50 feet off the tee. You've never done that one time in practice, but now you do it in the tournament. If the times you do it in practice and you just move on, you're never going to be able to get that rep from over there. So I really do agree that that's important. And maybe that's something that I should try to do a little bit more, is just really, and that was something I used to be really bad at. I would throw 3 or 4 and I would just take whatever was the best. And then I stopped doing that. I was like, no, if I'm going to play tournaments, I have to get in a tournament mindset. Just play the one, play the whole out, and just keep on moving, accept that you got a bogey here and move on. So I really like that advice. But Lucas, I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of how you first got into disc golf. You know, we had your brother on a long time ago and it was an awesome show, learned a ton, and he said that you kind of got him into disc golf a little bit. How did you first get into disc golf?
I got into disc golf kind of, way back when, it was only stoners playing. So a bunch of my friends decided to play, and I'm like, okay, let's try this out. And it was more so just kind of I just wanted to be active. I called it hiking with a purpose. And then, I played, and it's just probably, it probably started 8 years ago, like when I first like dipped my toes in. Then I played, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, people have it so good now, like with all the instructional videos. I didn't have any of that, and my form is still whack. Like, it's not good, just because I didn't have these awesome, like your guys' podcast or like these form videos. Like, I had none of that. And so there's still like hitches in my game that I've just learned to work with. I think disc golf for me was just something to get out there and hang out with my friends and have a good time. And I was putting with a Mako. Like, I didn't know what I was doing.
Putting with a Mako. You love to see it. Was it a DX Mako, or were you throwing Star Mako out there as a putter?
It was a Star. It was, yeah. Premium plastic putting putter. So you know what you're doing then.
That's all right. We all got to start somewhere.
And so, like, how did that evolve? How were you able to find yourself getting better? Did you have to really go digging out there on YouTube? Because I know even for Trenton and I, and it was kind of the same situation when we were first getting into disc golf. It was one of those things where it's like, yeah, sure, there's some informational stuff out here. It's not maybe the best produced stuff. We want to create this podcast to cater to those rec intermediate players, to help them learn about the sport in the first place, grow the sport, but also for once you've been playing a little bit, how can you get better? I think that's kind of something that we've really tried to focus in on. So what was that process for you like? What avenues did you have? What were you doing that accelerated your growth?
So I would say I didn't really accelerate for a long time. Like, I was just playing with my friends, and then just by playing, like, you'll find things that like work. Oh, if I do this, like, it makes the disc flip over and it goes further. Most of it was just me kind of getting out there playing, and then realizing, like, man, I'm getting better than my friends. Like, they're not great. So, and I'm like, and I've always kind of been a competitive guy. So I'm like, hey, I wonder if, am I like kind of am I good? Like for the community, like for this town, like, am I one of the better ones? I don't know. So then I kind of dipped my toes into some tournaments and started kind of that journey. But really, for me, it was a lot of just practice and not getting any better until I was like, okay, after I got into a tournament, and I actually, my very first tournament was I was in the rec division at some like random place in Oklahoma. I won, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like, I might be decent. So then, like, that win is what like propelled me. I'm like, okay, I want to get better, but there still wasn't a ton of things. But I'm like, I just started playing more because I was so very, very casual before that. And so for me, it was just a lot of repetition, figuring out what works. And I was very kind of segregated. Like, I just didn't play with a lot of other people other than the people that I knew. And people were always kind to me, but I just like, I'm like, I just want to hang out with my peeps, you know, like, I don't really want to play with anyone else. And that really, that was a deterrent for me. Like, if I would have, like, nowadays, like, I play with so many different people, and even people that are maybe not as good a player as me, like, I figure out something from everyone I play with. And that, I highly recommend you just play with everyone you can, because you just always learn something.
So, Lucas, you know, learning to play with new people and improving your game, what would you say was the turning point for you? Was it winning that rec tournament? You know, how do you go from winning that rec tournament to getting beat up in advance? Take me on that tour a little bit.
Yeah, so I would say the first 4 years of my playing, like, tournament-wise, first 4 years of playing tournaments, I played 7 tournaments in total. So I still didn't play that often. And, you know, real life kind of steps in the way sometimes with those types of things. But I played a lot of intermediate after that. So I played 2 rec tournaments. I got first, I got second. I'm like, I think I'm probably not in this division. So I moved up to intermediate, and I'm like, okay, people are better here. If I make mistakes, like, they're going to capitalize a little bit more. And so in the intermediate division, I didn't really win a lot. And it's kind of just like my advanced journey in 2020. So you kind of have to just work your way up and take your lumps, and it's not always fun to lose, like, especially when you're competitive. And also, I was kind of I don't know, for me personally, like, because I've always been competitive, I was kind of cocky when I was younger too, and so I don't think I was fun to play with, because, like, I wasn't friendly. I mean, I'm always friendly as, like, a jovial person, but, like, I wanted you to mess up. I didn't want to beat you at your best. I wanted you to hit a tree every single time. Please hit that tree. And I think some of us are thinking that in our heads, but, like, nowadays, like, I want to beat someone when they throw the good shots, because I want to follow it up and throw a good shot too. I want to beat someone at their best and not because they're, you know, having a tough round. So I think that is one thing for me that has really changed my game, is the way that I interact with my card mates. And I'll even elaborate on that a little bit. For me, if someone is down, like, it brings the whole card down. Like, if someone's playing bad, you can feel that energy, right? So I want to build people up. Like, if someone has a great shot, I want to tell them, great shot. And then it feels like, because we all get in this, like, robotic tournament mode where, like, oh my God, this is the tournament. And we build this thing up in our head like it's the biggest thing ever. And we become tense. And, like, I don't know how to putt now for some reason because I'm in a tournament. And when you build people up, it takes them out of that. And, like, I just act kind of nutty, like, just silly sometimes too, because I want people to be light. And when you do that, it feels more casual than tournament-y, and people, like, the whole card plays well. And that's what I want. I want everyone to play well, including myself. But I will say that, like, early when I first tried to do this, people would, like, throw a decent shot, and I'd say nice shot, or they'd lay up for a bogey, and I'd be like, hey, good layup, you know, or something like that. And I'm like, maybe that's a little bit too much. Like, that's kind of condescending. So, like, unless it's, like, a really good shot, I don't usually say something. But when it is a good shot, you best believe I'm hyping them up. So
I really like that. And I know, Trenton, I've talked to you and I've complained to you about this on our daily walks, in that I really, really, really don't like it when card mates are talking while A, I'm throwing, and B, while the disc is still in the air. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm a little baby, and I believe in the nice curse. I believe that if you say something nice about my shot before it has hit the ground, something bad is going to happen. I can't shake that in my head. It is what it is. You can try to convince me otherwise, but it's so far up there. So I really do appreciate that, because I definitely, you'll see, and I think this is a good problem to have. I think it's a good problem when people are trying to be nice, they're trying to be supportive, they're trying to lift each other up. That is a good problem to have. That's way better than everyone being like, screw you, I hope you hit hit a tree every single time. And so it's one of those things where it's like, on one hand, it's like, yeah, thanks. But on the other hand, like you were saying, if you don't actually mean it, and if it's not actually warranted, I really honestly am kind of to the point where I think it's better to be quiet. And I've noticed myself, I've done that a lot more at the Colwich tournament that you, shout out to you, taking home that dub. I found myself being extremely quiet because not a whole lot of good stuff was happening on our cards, but like, I didn't want to come off as condescending and all that stuff. And when something was warranted, you know, yeah, you pick them up and shout them out. So I don't really have a question with that. I just wanted to say that, and I appreciate that. And I would love to see more cards doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I agree, because it can be very, like, you would prefer someone is nice than not nice, of course. And I think it's all perspective. Like, I think when someone is saying, hey, like, I have a buddy, he laid up for a bogey today. And I said, good shot. But I meant it because I've played with him enough that he runs stupid things. Like, he tries to run that 9 times out of 10, and I'm like, that's not the play. But he laid it up. I said, good shot, and I meant it. And like, and he understood. But if, like, we don't have that camaraderie, or you don't know my game enough, it's gonna sound condescending. So
yeah, you almost went like caddy mode on your buddy right there. That's a good point though, because you definitely don't want to. And Quentin, like you said, I do it all the time. I said, oh, that looks good, or get greasy, or whatever it might be. And it's, come on, man.
You said talking and backswings and stuff, and I completely agree. Like, it throws me off. But I will say, because I know kind of where you play, Quentin, and where you play, Trenton, and the higher you get, the less that is. People are more respectful of those shots.
Absolutely believe that. So that leads me to kind of what I wanted to go into next. So, if you were sitting at the picnic table at the Millbrook League last Friday, you'll know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'll give you a little brief explanation. So pretty much, I had gone in there. I shot a 7 down, 1 league in the intermediate division, which, shut up, I'm getting to that, which scored better than all of advanced and was only 1 off Nick Unruh, who won MPO with 8 down. So I was feeling good about myself. I was like, wow, I just had a PR on Millbrook. I'm feeling happy. And then, and no disrespect at all, but then you get the sandbagging comments coming in at you. And it's like, dude, come on, be quiet. It's not that big of a deal. But so that leads me to 2 things. One, is the competition really that much more different when you jump up to advanced? And 2, when should you make the jump to go up from rec to intermediate, intermediate to advanced, advanced to pro? What do you think is the appropriate time to make that jump?
So this is always a hot topic, right? This has been since the begin, probably the beginning of disc golf. But I will say something that I dislike before I answer your question is I hate the term sandbagging, because for you, Quentin, you've been working your tail off and you shot an amazing round. Did anyone say great round? No, it was instantly
Trenton did. He did.
I said great job.
Okay, no one else did, yeah. But actually, no, that's not true. I think a couple of people did say, hey, that was a good round. But I get what you're saying, yes.
But yeah, you usually hear more of the move up instead of like congratulate. And I think we need to do like more like, man, that's a great round. Like, be happy for someone before you're just screaming at them to move up. So that's just a side note, because I've also heard that kind of, because I probably stayed in intermediate longer than I should have. But again, it's just like a personal thing. Like, for me, it's like when I could play not my best and still finish top 3 or top 5, that's when I felt like, okay, I'm over this division. Because at first, when I won my first intermediate, like, I had to play lights out for my particular style at that point. But when I can win or get close to winning without playing my best, that's when you probably need to move up. That's my opinion anyway.
Let's, Quentin, you got anything else, or are we good to move on to the next comment? All right, so Lucas, what do you think is the best part of your game currently?
I would say I'm a very consistent player. I am not like, I will sneak up on people. because I just play consistent. I don't make a ton of like bogeys. I get a lot of pars, and sometimes I'll hit a birdie, sometimes I'll hit a bogey. But I'm consistent, so my accuracy is good, and then my putting, I feel very confident putting. So like I can be in a lot of places and still feel comfortable. I don't have good distance though, so like it's tough. But like the consistency, like being right in the middle, I'm pretty good with that.
Let's explore the consistency and the accuracy a little bit more. And to give a little bit more context to those folk who are not in Wichita, the most recent tournament that you won, I believe it was that Colwich tournament, which is it's the most wooded course that we have. And Kansas Woods is different probably from woods that you're used to wherever you live, because all the branches are so low to the ground. There's really not a whole lot of clearance. So I want to start with, how are you able to be accurate in the woods when you're not just able to throw a big hyzer and get as much, as you want, and you can predict always falling in the middle because you can throw it as far left as you want, and if you know your disc, it's going to come back. So first off, how do you become more accurate in the woods? What are some keys that you have?
So for me personally, when I throw, like let's say I'm not in the woods, let's say I'm in a big open field, I don't get a ton of height on my disc. I'm very like straight line thrower, just with a lot of like straight power. And so that really translates well to the woods, because I don't have to like adapt my game to not throw so high. I'm basically throwing the same. So for me, it's comfortable. So I remember the course in Ponca City. Have you played that one, the Bois d'Arc? Okay, I probably butchered the name of it, but I played it blind for the very first time, and it was an intermediate tournament from last year. It was the first tournament of the year, and I won that tournament. But I just play well in the woods because I have decent touch, so I can kind of shape a disc. Like I like to throw a lot of flippy things. So like I feel like I have more touch and control with it. So I do a lot of anhyzer shots in the woods, because either it will anhyzer or I can just kind of flip up to flat, and I feel comfortable with those types of things. I will say in the woods, like if there's a long shot, I'm not going to get there. So I will take my medicine. I will throw a mid and just go down the fairway just a little bit where I know I'm going to be accurate. And I think even in the advanced division, people are going for the gusto. So they're trying to do way too much. And here I am poking along and getting a par and probably taking strokes just because I am playing smart. But yeah, so for me, accuracy is also like you just have to get out there and play. Like to know like, hey, if I release here, it's going to go there. And just to like, and that's just practice until you feel like, hey, I know exactly what my disc's going to do. But then you're in Kansas, and then the wind throws a whole nother factor into everything. But if it's not windy, I feel pretty good. And then the wind comes up, and I'm like, oh yeah, can I play disc golf? I don't think I'm very good anymore.
Yeah, so you say you play every day and you focus on accuracy. Is that like, do you play your casual rounds exactly how you play a tournament? Kind of walk us through when you're thinking about your tournament play, or just in general, kind of how you're thinking about your game every time you play.
Okay, I like that. I love that because there's a couple different factors. Like I said earlier, shooting one shot, right? So if I have a bad shot, you're going to have to take it. So then it forces you to make the good shot all the time. So that's number one. Number two, if I'm actually in a tournament, like I said, I like to keep things light, and then it feels more casual. So I'm always just trying to keep my headspace like light, fun, have a good time. This isn't a tournament, right? But I will say what happens in tournaments, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard this or if you guys do something similar, but morning rounds, like I'm a terrible morning person. Like I suck at mornings. I'm so bad. Like I don't wake up very well. Like my body is stiff. I just don't love the mornings. And so like I can get out there and I can warm up, and I'm still just not feeling it. And I don't really warm up a lot in tournaments. Like I will putt maybe 10 putts, and then I'll just throw to like kind of loosen up my arms, but like not a ton. I don't do a lot of like pre-game warm up because I don't practice that way. when I go out, I'm coming straight out the car, just bombing as far as I can, you know? So I want to play like I practice. So I don't do too much or it gets in my head. And then I'm making it more than it needs to be. But I will say, because I know I'm not good at mornings and I know my body, I throw so much less far in the early round. So like the first 9 holes, I will literally go up a speed of disc just so I'm throwing something that's going to get further, because I never throw as far as I typically do early on in the tournament, until I'm really, really loose. And so for me, that's something that has really, really helped me get to the basket or shape a shot like I want it to, just because I'm kind of moving up in that speed of disc.
Yeah, I've never really thought about that before, but that's a good point. I've heard other tips before about, if you want to, let's say it takes you 7 holes to really get in the zone and you're feeling good, and, maybe you have to practice 7 holes and then you'll be in the zone by the time you're ready for hole 1. So that's really interesting that you bring that up, because I definitely can kind of feel that. And I also think that a lot of people, myself included, psych themselves out for tournaments because they won't do what they do when they get outside of the car when it's just a regular round. So when you're not feeling your best, and when you're maybe a little jittery, let's say, a little anxious or nervous or whatever about your shot, what are you doing and able to calm yourself down, release whatever it is you got going on to continue to throw an accurate shot? Because I know I could feel one way 1 second, and as soon as I start to release the disc, I muscle up, tense up, all that stuff, and it's not even remotely on my line. How are you able to let go of all that and continue to throw an accurate shot?
Yeah, so for me, I am a social person, so like I just try to disconnect, because what we do when we have a bad shot or when we aren't feeling it, what we do is we dwell on it. We think about it over and over and over and over. And so what I try to do is I engage someone in a conversation that's completely un-disc golf related. Just about anything. And that's why I think caddies are so important. Like, my wife is always there, so she'll talk to me about like doing laundry or like just whatever it is, like something that's completely unrelated, because it gets me back to like, hey, I'm a human. Like we're just all out here doing the same thing, but it just doesn't let me dwell, because it's so easy, especially if you have like a bad hole. Like, oh my God, I used to beat myself up for the rest of the tournament. If I took a triple, tournament's done, life's over. Why am I here? So I honestly think everyone needs a caddy. Someone that doesn't know disc golf is the best caddy ever, because they don't know what to talk about. It's wonderful. So anyways, that's just a little hot take.
That's
Trent, you trying to slide through on Sunday?
Right, dude. I might actually if I can, but I don't know. I would talk disc golf the whole time, and it would probably go opposite of what Lucas just suggested.
Nah, we'd probably talk business the whole time.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
that
the same
too.
thing. We just talk about disc golf constantly.
Numbers.
No, that's a very interesting tip. You couldn't see me, but you could see me, but no one could hear me or anything. I was cracking up when you said your wife would bring up laundry in the middle of a round. That's amazing though. I might just have to throw in, like, especially during like NFL or whatever, when I'm paying attention to other sports as well. Like, I can't believe Patrick Mahomes threw that pick on 4th down or 3rd down or whatever in the middle of a bad round.
Stop talking about it already.
No,
we all know it's gonna happen. I get what you're saying. It's such a
great.
good point.
Right.
Yeah, talking fantasy football, talking like anything else in those moments is just like, it takes you out of it, and then like you're back to being casual again, loose, and then that next shot is like, oh yeah, I'm actually in a tournament, and you forget sometimes.
Yeah, we gotta have a fantasy football Wichita disc golf league. That would be. I don't know who all plays, but I know us 3 probably do.
Dude, I'm in 6 different leagues. It's my supplemental income. Like,
Nice.
I am
Nice.
big into it.
Comment if you're watching on YouTube, or if you can comment on whatever you're listening to. Let us know if you would want us to fire up a Wichita disc golf or Wichita area disc golf fantasy league, because that would be awesome.
Cool. So I've got one more question on accuracy before we get to the fan questions. I think a big part of being able to get a little bit of distance, but to throw further, is your nose angle. And I think nose angle is something that so many people, it's one of those words where they just throw it out there and they don't actually explain what they're talking about and kind of show it, you know what I'm saying? So like, first off, can you maybe give a brief overview? If I'm brand new to the sport, what the heck is a nose angle? Could you maybe explain what nose angle is and how you can control it better?
Yeah, so your nose angle, let's see if I have a disc. I don't know if you guys saw these, but these things are sweet. These new Orbit Escapes. They look sweet. Anyways, so so nose angle, so that's flat, and then you can go nose up or you can go nose down. So it really depends on what you want it to do. Most new people to the sport, they throw it nose up without meaning to, and then the disc goes up and then just hyzers out. So for me, because I don't throw with a lot of height on my shot, I'm a very flat thrower. So all I'm thinking about when I throw is I've played long enough that all I think about is how can I generate the most amount of spin. And since recently, I've kind of gotten a little bit better with my distance. It's still not great, but it's just really how can I spin and just be as flat as possible. And when I do that, when I think about my spin and only my spin, my shots just become accurate. And I can't explain it more than that, but I'm just thinking about spin. I think a lot of people think about so many things. For me, I just think about one thing and just do that. And if that's off, then I'll maybe change my frame of mind. But it's really just one thing and just spin that sucker as much as you can.
That's a great point. Jake Hebenheimer in the last episode talked about when he putts, he doesn't think about anything but what he's doing while he's putting it. So you take the same approach on the drive side of things, or, I mean, any kind of shot, right? Any shot, right? Not just the drive.
Yeah.
And all you're thinking about is how can I generate the most amount of spin, regardless of, I know this isn't going to go probably as far as I want it to, but it's going to be accurate. So you're focusing on just getting as much spin as possible rather than I'm going to throw this as hard as I can and it's going to go 450 feet and go in the basket.
100%. And honestly, it's the same with my putt. When I'm thinking putting, I just think, how can I spin this and get it in? And when I spin it, it glides more. It's better for me. So.
And the spin also gets the disc to do what it's designed to do too, right? Like that escape, for example, you throw everything flat, so it probably does a nice little S curve. It turns over a little bit and comes back.
Yeah.
So getting
and
the
especially
spin,
the
orbits,
these come back.
Right.
I'm not sponsored by disc or dynamic disc or anything, but I'm just saying that's a good disc.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, I think this has been a good discussion on accuracy and spin and all of that stuff. Let's get into the fan questions. I'm going to start off with the first one that we've got here coming in from Chris Smith. Smitty, have you ever borrowed something of great value, financial or sentimental, and lost it before you could return it? What are we talking about here, Lucas?
So I don't know if you've seen the Facebook for Wichita group, but earlier this year, the very first tournament of the year, kickoff, I forgot a mini. I said, Smitty, he was running the tournament. He was the tournament director. And I said, hey, do you have a mini that I can borrow? He got one out of his cup holder. It still had like pop residue and it was all sticky. He's like, you can use this. I said, thank you, sir. And then got ninth. So hated the mini immediately, but then lost it. And so he had asked for it back, and it was a tough conversation to tell him I didn't have it, because it was like this metal gold mini. I don't think it was real gold, mind you, but it was pretty cool. I never gave it back to him because I couldn't find it. And so he's like, I'm never going to win a tournament again. He's like, and so he was going to hold this over my head for the rest of my life. So, but I just want to point out some stats, some Chris Smith stats, who, if you guys don't know Smitty, he is an OG of the Wichita disc golf community, and he's a fantastic professional player. But since I've lost the mini, Smitty has played 5 tournaments and won 4 of them. Last year, with the mini that he had, he played in 14 tournaments and only won 6 of them at a win rate of 40%. This year, his win percentage without the mini is 83%. So I think I kind of helped him, to be honest. But also, I've been having it the whole time. Like, it's right here. Like, I've had it, Smitty. I'm just trying to help you win.
Oh, that is awesome. He came out with the stats and everything. I love it. Hey, Smitty, congrats on number 60, by the way. And we need to get you on here sometime. All right. Let's see here. Question number 2. From David Feltz. What is your favorite style of play? Example, singles, doubles, match play, etc.
Yeah, it's good. I just like singles. I will say I haven't done a lot of doubles, but I do enjoy that format, especially when I'm playing with my brother, because we have never lost. Do you know that? Like, we have done 3 tournaments in advance, and we have won every single one of them. Because he throws really far, and I'm a good putter, and he'll hit putts that I don't hit. So it's really wonderful. It's like a good combo. And he can forehand too.
Yep. Say it.
You want me to say it? Okay.
What's happening?
So we were literally talking about this. So Trenton and I work at the same place. So we go on walks all the time and just talk about disc golf, the podcast, all that stuff. And I literally was like, after we get Lucas, we should be like, hey, let's do a YouTube video with Cody and the Deal Brothers against the Par Pals, Quentin and Trenton, and let's put a front 9 on our channel and a back 9 on his channel. And I hit him up, and he was like, yeah, man, I'm kind of taking a break from disc golf right now. I said, Cody,
what?
Come on.
I didn't hear that.
I finally have a good idea for once in my life, and I get this response. I said, it's all good. It's all good. I was like, hey, no big deal, brother, man. Whenever you're good, like let me know and let's make it happen. Because that's just so funny that you brought that up, because we were literally talking about we should make that a YouTube video.
Yeah, I would love to do that. So I'll have to maybe like pay him some money or something. Hang out with me, brother, please.
Literally. Okay, next question we got comes in from Blake Vandergrift. What is it like competing with / against some of the biggest names in disc golf? Was it as nerve-wracking as it would seem?
So I am wondering if Blake might think I'm someone else. I am just an advanced player. I mean, I'm telling you, the advanced field is really wonderful. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if they're quite the best in the world. So Blake, I'm not Logan. I'm not Nolan. I'm Lucas. And I would say the advanced field, wonderful people to be around. And it feels great to be out there competing with them.
Nick Hunt wants to know, how long are your fingers, and are those mitts? Do those mitts hinder your game?
So when I first played my first round with Nick, we shook hands, and he has been talking about my hands ever since. And I do have incredibly large hands, so these things are like, I mean, they're big, and I think they help. Yeah, look at those little baby hands.
I was comparing it to my you got yes.
See, those things are
see
big.
that.
Yeah. So I'd love to shake your guys' hands sometime so we can find out. I think it helps, to be honest. Like, especially for my putt, like it just feels like effortless. I feel like I get more pop on my putter just because of my huge, ginormous hands. So yeah, I think they're good. I think they're good for the game.
Nice. Cody Moe asks, are you good at Calvin's basketball putt since you're good at basketball?
Well, thanks, Cody, for saying I'm good at basketball. Well, yeah, I do probably play basketball a lot more than I play disc golf. I still play in like leagues and stuff. I have Seth DeBoard was showing me the basketball putt shot, and I was like, oh, that looks fun. And I saw Calvin doing it, but I'm like, I don't ever try things. And he was doing it, and I'm like, oh, if Seth can do this, I can do this. So then I did it. It was terrible. And then I did it again, and it went in, and I'm like, oh, wait. And then I did it from deeper, and I'm like, oh, and then I held the follow through, and like, I'm actually pretty decent, Cody. Yeah. So thanks for the question. But yeah, I would love to have like a Calvin putting shootout with one of you guys sometime.
Not a bad idea. All right, I think I got one more. Ben Chambers asks, what's your favorite way to get in the zone before tournaments? And then what's your favorite putting tip? So a little 2-for-1.
I'm not at a tournament. That's how I get in the zone. I'm not at a tournament. So I'm not gonna warm up a ton. I'm gonna do just a couple putts. Gonna do a couple throws, and then I'm gonna those first 7-9 holes, I'm gonna go up a speed of disc to make myself throw as far as I want to throw. And I think those are the main things that I try to do. And then like early on, I try to do some icebreakers on the card. I make like usually my wife's with me, so I'll make some type of weird joke and get everyone a little off the like to forget that they're in a tournament, and then we're off and running. So if I can make the card laugh early, it's going to be a good day. If they're not laughing, I'm like, I got to work on some material. So that's kind of how I just like to keep it light, have some fun out there. And then putting tip, man, I love putting. I will say people focus on too many things. And again, for me, it's just that spin. And I will say, like, one thing that I think I do extremely well in tournaments is I don't. Some days, and you guys can probably attest to this. Some tournaments, you're just like you're maybe more off on the left side, you're more off right side. So instead of like trying to, like a lot of people change like their body position and all of this stuff to like, all I do is if I'm off, like if I'm, let's say I'm short, because I'm notorious in tournaments to like short arm everything because I don't commit because I'm timid. I'm timid because I'm in a tournament. So I'm always timid. So all I do, it's very, very easy, is just aim higher than you think. So like, so if each chain, each link is something, I go about 3 discs high or 3 links higher than I would normally aim at the start of a tournament, until I make a couple, and then I'm like, okay, I feel good. But I always am so notorious for being short arming, not committing early in a tournament, and that's like those tournament yips, especially like putting early on.
Yeah, completely understandable. I mean, Trent and I, we played a round at Oak on Sunday, and the first 2 putts I really had to make were both step putts, and they both went in, and I felt like I couldn't miss anything after that, where I know if I would have missed one, maybe the first or both of those, I probably wouldn't have putted as well. I do think it's a lot mental. You know, if your first couple putts go in, you're probably going to have a good putting day.
Yeah, and if I feel like it early on in a tournament, if I hit band on a putt, I feel like that's a good miss, and I don't get it as in my head. So I think that like it's all, you know, how you materialize it in your head and how big you make something. But for me, my miss early is to be high and not low, because I know I'm notorious for being low.
Yeah, I love that. All right, well, hey, I think this material has been really good so far. I've learned a ton, but let's spice things up. Let's get it hot in here. Lucas, we're going to have you on for just a full hot take episode later. But, man, give us the hot sauce to the chicken tonight.
Okay. All right. So, let me tell you guys a little something. I think pros are trying to follow the model that Macbeth set up with Discraft, with, like, making their own line. So, what did Macbeth make? He made the Luna, the Onyx, the Zeus, or the Kong, and the Hades, right? And those have been just phenomenal discs. Discs that everyone's having in their bag. But the problem is, most of these discs that pros are making now, they're just not quite good enough, or aren't as good as they were hoping for them to be. And they're going back to original molds. So I just watched Simon's in the bag, tilt's gone, right? I think Eagle took the tilt out. The Prodigy stuff, like the Distortion and the Falcor, I don't think many people are throwing those still. Paige took the Passion out of her bag. Early on, Kat and the Vortex, Katrina Allen, I think that's too understable for her arm. So I think, now mind you, this is incredibly smart by these companies, by the pros, because you put someone's name on it. For me personally, I buy it. But if you're not throwing it anymore, that's a problem. So I just think, I don't know if we're ever going to get back to like the way they did it for Paul at these other companies.
Does Paul still throw all those molds?
I don't know if he throws the Hades.
But he's still rocking the Zeus. I know he throws a lot of the Force.
doesn't Paul move? He moves stuff in and out of his bag depending on where he's playing,
Yeah,
right?
Paul is, yeah. And I think Paige, goes in and out of that passion too. But if she's in Kansas, that passion is nowhere around her. So
I think the overarching thing here is I wonder if it's really just a big marketing ploy to sell more discs, because you can only sell so many destroyers, so many wraiths, so many I'm trying to think of a classic DD, like a raider, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can only sell so many judges before you got to slap somebody's name on it to sell more of those. And so I really do wonder how much of it is a marketing ploy, and I wonder if companies should be more inclined to be like, no, Simon, you need to keep the tilt in your bag. Even if you're not going to throw it, just say you might pull it out every now and then so more people want it. Hey, Paul, you need to keep the Hades in the bag so every time we make a limited run, they sell out in 5 minutes. Like, have you ever thought about that? Should companies almost be dictating what's in the bag week in and week out?
I think a little bit. And honestly, in my opinion, think about this. Think about recently what just came out for DD is that Saki Slammer. You have every pro for DD talking about it. You have Valerie Mondahano throwing that, and she doesn't throw it very well. It's like they are told to throw it. It just seems like that to me. And I don't know if, hey, maybe they're just getting used to it because it's new, but all these DD guys, even like some of the local DD guys, like they're all talking about this slammer, and I wonder if it is like a more of a marketing thing than anything else. But I think it would be smart, because like even like Drew Gibson just came out with the Era, right? Have you guys thrown
Nope.
it? I bought one because it's got his name on it. So I mean, I'm the reason that they keep doing this. But that thing is flippy. Drew doesn't throw that. That thing is so flippy. And so honestly, I think if they start making them throw the discs, what's going to happen is they're going to be more prone to making better plastic that's going to be longer lasting. Because if they're like, well, if I'm forced to throw this, you need to make this a little bit more stable, or you need to make this or like this, or I need it to feel like this. And that way, it won't get off the ground unless it's something they're actually going to throw.
I agree, but I mean, me personally, if I'm going to create a disc with my name on it, I am going to make it. I mean, I feel like Ricky, obviously Paul, like you said, Paul has the best model. He designed those 4 discs that we mentioned earlier, literally based off of what he wanted. Whereas other people, I think, are just throwing discs out there, kind of like you said, Quentin, potentially as a marketing thing. Like, hey, this says Drew Gibson on it, or whoever, Ricky Wysocki, doesn't matter who it is. This has their name on it because we need to sell more plastic, you know? So, I mean, I don't know where I'm totally going with that, but to me, I would totally try to make it something that would be in my bag. It wouldn't be just, oh, cool, my name's on this disc that I don't really care about.
I almost wonder if it's one of those things where maybe not on purpose or anything like that. If you're the pro, you almost want to make more of a passion or a vortex instead of a tilt or a slammer, because it'll be easier for those rec and intermediate players to buy and then throw that disc for longer instead of, and I know, Lucas, you say you buy a lot of the Tour Series and you buy a lot of those discs just because it has someone's name on it, but like I almost wonder if the higher up the ladder you go and the more you get into the MPO and advanced field, are they buying discs at the same rate that a rec and intermediate player is? Because when you're in rec and intermediate, 9 times out of 10, you're exploring so many different discs because you're a little bit newer to the game that you're willing to buy more discs and try more things out. So it would almost make sense for companies to be like, we need to put out a passion so that way when Trenton's friend, who's just now getting into disc golf, can throw that as their beginning driver for the first year and a half, and they'll continue to buy our stuff. Where if we put out an Onyx, maybe they can't throw that all the time, and they're not going to like disc golf as much, and they're not going to want to come back. I don't know how much validity there is to that, but maybe an interesting thought.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I would think that they would need to Man, did you guys ever watch the thing with Eagle, where he was kind of talking to the person when he was making a disc for his Rainmaker? Did you guys see the making of the Rainmaker? So basically all he said was, hey, I want it to do this, I want it to feel like this, and that was about it. Like, that was, like, I just don't know if they have as much input as we think they should. And maybe that's something that they need to negotiate as well. But, you know, they're disc golfers. They're not disc makers. So it may be so over their head that they're just like, I want it to do this, make sure that happens, you know? So, but I remember with Paul, like, he just seemed to be involved in that in so much more than a lot of that. I think even James Conrad with some of his, like the Nomad and stuff, I think he had a lot more input. I don't know how much like Drew Gibson or Katrina Allen actually had. Was the Vortex an actual disc already? I don't know. I don't know DGA's lineup. Yeah, but I know like for the era, I mean that's a whole new disc, right? So I just don't know how much input they're actually getting into this thing. But I honestly think that they need more input, or maybe class it down, because like you said, that passion, like, get something that they're going to throw often, like, and then fall in love with.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going to go just real quick. My point was, you might want to create these lower speed discs for the beginners, but even as a beginner, I mean, not all beginners watch the Pro Tour, so this could be irrelevant for a lot of people. But as a beginner, I'm like, who's this Ricky Wysocki guy? Well, he's got a cool name. Oh, his name's Saki Bomb. That's even cooler. Oh, he throws an Enforcer or a Felon. Like, obviously, those are beefy discs. But you want to throw what he's throwing. Or like I have, I mean, I'll even say Christian Tatar's Grace right there. That thing is sweet. I don't even have enough speed to throw that thing how it's supposed to be thrown. So it doesn't get thrown very much. Definitely not that one. But my point being is, you want to throw, at least for me personally, I want to throw what I see the people I like to watch play throw. And I don't know, to me, you would want to create a disc that you would constantly bag, because if it's on coverage or on YouTube or on Jomez or on anything more, and you're throwing it more, then people are going to want to buy it.
And last thing that I'll say on it is it really does make me think, how much can you really change a disc golf disc? Sure, you can add a bead, maybe make it a little bit more domey, less domey, but like, the diameter is going to be the same on all the discs, dang near, unless there's something I don't know. And so, like, you really can't change them that much. Like, I really feel as though if you look up and down the lineup of every single manufacturer, they've got 4 or 5 discs that they put a different name on, but they pretty much do the exact same thing, unless you're playing at that top pro level and you can manipulate discs unlike us normal people. They're pretty much going to do the exact same thing for you.
And I think that's what I love that Dynamic Disc just did with the Rives. They had came out with 4 different names. Like, put a name on it, sell it that way. You know, you don't have to change the disc. Just put your name on it. That's why I buy all that Tour Series. Like, I've never bought a Raider, ever. They put Ricky's name on it. I have a Raider in my bag now. Oops. Like, it's just I want to throw it the best they're throwing. So.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, I think that was really fun. And like I said, we are definitely going to have you back on and just have a full episode of those hot takes, because the list that you sent us, they are very good. Very, very good. But let's get into the ace round now. If you're new to the podcast, these are the same 5 questions we ask every guest that we have on. Sometimes we get some pretty good advice. Sometimes we get some really awesome stories. So I'm looking forward to what this one has in store for us. Trenton, why don't you kick us off with the first question?
All right, you are taking a brand new player to get their first 3 discs. What fairway driver, mid-range, and putter do you recommend?
I'm going to give them a Judge, because I started with a Judge. I putt with an EMAC Judge now, but I think the Judge is a really good starting putter. And then I think I'm going to get a lot of hate for this probably, but I hate the way the Rock feels. And if so many people say the Rock, but I hate the way it feels in my hand. And it's all about feel for me. And so the Buzz for me flies very similar, but I like the feel of it more. So I would say a Buzz, and then I would probably hand them a fairway driver, and then I'd hit it out of their hands and say, you only need the Buzz and the putter.
That is the way to do it. I like that. That's good. That's good. Second question we got for you. What is the favorite course you have played in one course you have not played that you want to cross off on that bucket list you got?
So I traveled to Arizona and I played Fountain Hills. And it's not like the coolest course in the world, but it's just so like it's pretty. There's tons of people there, and like it's one of those ones that like there's so much danger around that water. It's just a very, very fun course, and when the fountain comes on, it's very, very cool. And it's just one that I've seen uncovered so many times that it's nice. And I would say the top one for me is probably a top for a lot of people that haven't played it, but the Eagles Crossing course has to be up there. I just saw on Brody's channel when he played it, and like I think I would be so bad at it. You have to have so much distance, and I already told you my distance is whack, but like I would still want to play it. Let me donate some discs to the water. It's fine. Like let me leave my mark here, my sacrifice for playing the course.
Oh, I love it that you just called it a sacrifice. That was great. I agree, though.
You got to leave some behind.
I agree. That looks great. Really quick, not necessarily off topic. Did you see Simon Lazat's new course that he posted on YouTube up in Pennsylvania? It's not his new course, but the new course. Look that one up on his YouTube channel. That course it's got some like high elevation shots that look pretty sweet. All right, next question. Knowing what you know now, what would you tell, or what tip would you give your beginner self?
I'd give myself 2 tips. Number 1, stop being a cocky little turd. Just have fun out there. And then, hey, learn to sidearm and stop putting it off. Because I still can't forehand very well. I am like getting uncomfortable with it now, and I actually just played a tournament that I threw 5 forehands in a tournament, and I'd never thrown any. So it felt good. But it's still a slow process, and I wish I would have learned that so much longer ago. So even if you're like not good at it, like just keep going, keep working at it.
Yeah, and maybe even have forehand only rounds on shorter courses. That way you don't absolutely kill your arm, and it forces you to throw that and think about that and know there's not another option. So yeah, I really like that. Fourth question we got for you. What is your favorite memory playing disc golf?
I really got kind of reinvigorated into the game around 6 years, I guess kind of 8 years ago when I met my wife. We started playing together. And for me, that was something that, like, my journey with disc golf is like my journey with my wife at the same time. And so that is a memory that keeps on giving because she plays now. She's like a true stud. Like, she is so good. And it's because we played together, and it's so awesome. Like, she just aced yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that. 300-footer. Yeah. So, yeah. And she just came back from surgery. So it's that for me is like such a nice thing. And she's still like my caddy, my #1 fan. Like, even like when I was terrible, she still thought I was awesome. Like, you know, it's just nice to have that kind of support in your significant other. So
yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. That's great. All right, and the final question. What is the biggest mistake you see new players make?
They just want to throw so far, and they just get discs that are way too fast for them. That is always the thing. That's why I'm hitting that fairway driver out of my friend's hand immediately. Like, we just need to get buzz is as much as you need to go. A lot of people won't even let them throw more than a putter, but people are like getting 13 speeds, and I'm just like, whoa, I don't even throw a 13 speed hardly. Like, and I've been in the game for a long time. So, but they just see, like, especially if you play with someone and they see you throw far, they're like, oh my God, I have to do that. And then they just throw it so nose up, and it's just an instant hyzer. And so that's it. You just the distance will come. Just be patient with yourself. I promise we all started out not throwing very far. I still don't.
And add to that, not throwing very far and in the complete wrong direction.
Is that what you did?
Yes.
Dang. I was way better than you.
Boom, roasted. I think that's a great way to end this episode. Hey, Lucas, it was so much fun having you on, getting to know a little bit more about you and learn from you as well. Where can people connect with you and kind of continue to follow your disc golf journey?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, LukerDuker15. I got a YouTube page, Disc and Deals. It's me and my wife. She's really bad at posting, so it's mostly me. but she's going to get back into it. So follow us there, and follow me on Facebook too if you want to. Lucas Deal. Thank you guys for having me. This was a real fun time. You guys are awesome.
Appreciate you coming on, man. We're going to have to get you on again for that hot take only episode ASAP.
You got it. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to get with my brother. We're going to try to make this doubles thing happen.
Yeah, and we will put it on the YouTubes. And hey, if you guys have been watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, rating, comment down below if you'd like to see that video. I know that'd be a ton of fun, and maybe the Par Pals will just par their way into an L on that one. But so much fun with this episode, Lucas. Definitely appreciated you having on. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Check out the sponsors in the links below. You support our show by supporting our sponsors. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Chain Clankers. Got a ton of value going on over there. And we will catch you guys next week.